everybody, whether you're on the East Coast, West Coast, or around the world. This is Football Talk, and of course, it's Thursday morning, so we have our Pick'em show coming at you. This show is brought to you by BetUS, and they've been your sports betting partner for the last 30 years. If you join with Football Talk here, you get a bunch of free bets, some bonuses for joining. The link is in the bio, or you can go to our website, footballtalkbo.com, and you can obviously join our Pick'em with CBS Sports app. And of course, you can bet alongside us at BetUS. All right, so let's get going. We had a little bit of a rough week. Weirdly, everybody kind of had a rough week in our Pick'em poll. So even though I only went 8-7, I ended up gaining two games over second place. So despite not having a great week, I ended up still gaining a little bit of ground here, which heading into week 15, that is definitely necessary, getting close to the end. So if you're trying to win your Pick'em championship, man, you got to step the game up. So even though we dropped a little bit, as far as wins and losses, we ended up pretty good for the week when it comes to the championship polls overall. All right, so the things I got wrong, that's how we always start this out. And of course, I got plenty of them wrong this week. So it started with Thursday night, Pats Steelers. I had the Steelers in that game, and it was not a fun game to watch. Let's be honest. It was It was a mediocre game, but it was everything that Thursday Night Football has become. And so there's that. I took an L there, so that was too bad. I also didn't see the Lions falling to the Bears. I know the Bears have started to come on a little bit, but the Lions really, since the bye week, have found ways to lose games. The defense hasn't been playing as well, and they've turned the ball over considerably more. If you turn the ball over, obviously in this league, even if you're playing teams that aren't very good, you'll find ways to lose at that point. So that's really what happened there with the Lions. They turn the ball over. You can't overcome that most of the time. I think when you turn the ball over, I forget what the differential is. It's either 2 or 3 times your ability to win goes down to like 8%. So, I mean, it's turnovers are huge. Every team in the NFL is good enough to beat you if you're giving them the ball back. I also didn't have the Texans getting smacked by the Jets. I haven't seen anything from the Jets offense that made me think they were going to come out and actually put up points. And the Texans had looked good, really, for most of the season. So as much as I think the Texans are kind of ahead of schedule, I didn't see them falling completely flat. And of course, now Stroud is injured from the end of that game. His injury played no part of that team losing, though. He got hurt at the end of the game. They just weren't able to do anything really all day. The Jets kind of had their way with that game. But I definitely took an L there. I didn't see that. And then I took an L also on the Colts-Bengals game. I didn't think that Browning was going to have 2 good games in a row. I thought maybe the Colts would come out and get it done. That was definitely not the case. Kudos to the Bengals. It looks like they have a solid backup there. And, he's keeping their postseason dreams alive. So kudos to the Bengals. Unfortunate on my picks. I took the Colts and another L there. And Broncos-Chargers. This is one where I figured the Chargers would bounce back from that just horrible game a week ago, but that was definitely not the case. Obviously, Herbert goes down. At this point, half the starting quarterbacks in the league are out. So, the Broncos come up big. The defense is definitely the storyline with this Broncos team. They're coming out. They are winning this team games. They're giving that offense, some extra drives by getting them the ball back, because it's not that their offensive numbers have been impressive, but what the defense has been able to do is put them in really good, advantageous positions as far as being able to come in and score. So even though you see, box scores where they've put up, 3 touchdowns or something, when you look at the yardage, you can tell they're not having to drive the field. And that's just a testament to their defense in general. So didn't get that. And then both Monday night games were interesting. First off, let's just send a message to the NFL. If we're going to have multiple Monday night games, which I don't love anyway, but say we're going to have them, can we have them not start at the same time? In no way do you want your primetime game to be a regional game, right? So here on the West Coast, we got the Giants game. I would have liked to have seen I ended up watching them both, but I don't know. I don't love that when they have them starting at the same time, or even earlier in the year when they had them offset by an hour. So you kind of watched one game and then you watched the last hour of the other. I want to watch both these games in their entirety. So if we're going to do two, can we have them back to back or, something like that? But in any event, I got them both wrong because they both ended very weird. The Giants come out, they get it done. They got to be happy with what they've seen out of DeVito so far. But, it's funny because now I keep hearing these rumors of, hey, let's trade Daniel Jones, which that part doesn't bother me. But they're like, oh, yeah, DeVito's our guy. It's like, well, let's pump the brakes a little bit. He's played 2 games. Let's let the league get a little bit of film on him and see if he's actually your guy. That being said, great for the kid. He's coming out balling. And, they looked good. Green Bay, on the other hand, didn't. So, great win for the Giants. Obviously, I took Green Bay in that game. And then the other Monday night game, which was the Titans and the Dolphins. So this one was funny because the Dolphins were up, they were up by 10 with, I think it was like 3 minutes to go or 4 minutes to go, something like that. And so I went to make some food and I came back and they lost. I was just like, what happened? One of the things with the Dolphins, obviously Tyreek Hill getting hurt played a factor in that game. But at the same time, the thing that I've talked about all year, really with the Jags and of course the Dolphins, is I don't love their defense. Now, statistically, their defenses aren't terrible, right? But where they come up short is in key moments that matter. And so if you can't trust your defense to close this game out, that doesn't say good things going into the playoffs. That looks like you make it through the wild card round, but that level of play is generally a divisional round type of exit. Obviously, if they have all their complement of weapons on offense, they can hang with anybody. But if any of them get shut down, they don't have a defense. Or if they make mistakes, right, they throw picks or whatever, they don't have a defense that gets them the ball back consistently. And so that's a major concern with the Dolphins. Obviously, coming up short against the Titans is a concern because even though the Titans on paper look like they should be a solid team, they haven't passed the eye test as far as that's concerned. They've really just kind of found ways to lose games. They haven't effectively used D-Hop that much. Derrick Henry doesn't look like he's the running back that he used to be. Obviously, he's older, but I mean, there something about that team just doesn't quite mesh right. Not to say that their rookie isn't doing a good job. He is, but it's a rookie quarterback, right? So, there's going to be some growing pains along the way. But this, it was a good showing, obviously, from Levis being able to drive them down, get the game-winning score. Like for the Titans, you got to love it for them. But for the Dolphins, it makes you raise your eyebrow because this continues the trend that they haven't beat anybody. Not that the Titans, I don't think they have a winning record anyway, but they just haven't beat anybody of note, and they find ways to lose some of these games. So it's a concern moving forward. All right, so we got some games. We got some interesting lines in these games too. So at this point, like I said, I believe almost half the starting quarterbacks are either going to miss this game or they're going to be kind of injured coming back in. So it's this year is not only is there a lot of parity in the league, but this is definitely the year of just surviving the attrition of injuries, right? So, I mean, your best teams are going to be the ones that just have guys that were starters that are still on the team. All right. And of course, if you're on the West Coast, grab some coffee, hang out. All right. So we started off tonight with the Chargers at the Raiders. The Raiders are favored by 3. Obviously, Herbert is done for the season, and the over/under is 34.5. So I have the Raiders at home here. I don't have a lot of faith in this Chargers team. Even with Herbert, had he been okay, if you looked over the last 2 weeks, they're not putting up points. Their defense still isn't playing well. So this is one where I think the Chargers are just going to be – they're going to be around, right? It's going to be – they'll make it interesting. But at the end of the day, the Raiders, they have more time with their backup. I think this is one where they get it. I take the points here because it's a field goal. I think that's probably about what it's going to be. And on the over/under, it's going to be the under. These guys are not putting up points. Neither defense is great. Neither offense is great. Like, this is going to be everything you would expect out of a Thursday night game. It's probably going to be ugly, but it's Thursday Night Football, so I'm going to watch it. That being said, if you are here in Western Washington and you want to watch the game with us, we will be at the Legion Sports Bar. We're going to check out what Richard Sherman, Cam Chancellor, and Leilani Wong have put together there. It looks like a great spot. Haven't walked through it yet, so I'm going to be there tonight. So if you are in the Bellevue area, stop in, say hi, watch the game with us, and, check out their new spot. All right. So let's start with the Saturday games. We got 3 of those now that college football is essentially over until the, playoff games. So NFL moves into some of those Saturday slots. So we got 3 games. Our morning game is going to be Vikings at the Bengals. The Vikings can't seem to decide on a quarterback. So this is one where if you have multiple quarterbacks, you don't have a quarterback, right? And in this case, they have multiple backups, which means they really don't have a quarterback. So in this scenario, I'm going to take the Bengals. Again, I like what I've been seeing out of Browning. And, plus the line is only 3, right? The Bengals are getting their home field advantage, and that's it. So this is the Bengals. I'm going to take the points at -3. And then the over-under, I'm going to go under here again. Back-to-back games, battle of the backups. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't usually mean lots of points. So I'm going to take the under, even at just 40. Okay, we got Steelers at the Colts. We're 3 games in, and all 6 teams don't have their starting quarterback in. So this is this is not great, but it's where we are. So Steelers at the Colts. I'm going to go with the Colts to bounce back. This is one where I don't love either quarterback, right? So Trubisky, we know what he is. And then Minshew will at least make it interesting, right? So he may come out and win you a game. He may come out and lose you the game. You really don't know. You know what you get out of Trubisky. The downside to that is it's not great. So plus that offense, even with the starter, wasn't really putting up points. They really rely on that defense. The Colts defense isn't terrible. So I'm going to go with the Colts. The line is only 1.5. So this is one where Vegas is like, I don't know either. And, so that's where I'm going to take the Colts at home. I'll take them to cover. And I'm going to take the under. This is 42. This feels like a week where a lot of the unders will probably be the deal. It just, again, mostly backups. So it just doesn't make you feel great about it. All right. So this one should be a good game. We got the Broncos heading into Detroit. The Lions are favored by 4, and the over-under is 47.5. This is one where I think the Broncos actually have a better defense right now, and the Lions keep turning the ball over. So this is one where the Broncos could jump out and surprise the Lions, and if they do, the Lions are a little bit in trouble here. I still think they're going to win their division because there's only 4 games left. They have a 2-game lead. I think the Lions will be fine and win that division. But you never want to back into the playoffs either. This is a game that the Broncos desperately need if they want to keep their playoff hopes alive. So they have a lot to play for. Not that the Lions don't, but the Broncos definitely have a lot to play for. I still take the Lions to win this game. But what I have is the Broncos to cover. I don't think that the Lions win by 4, not the way they've been playing. They've been turning the ball over, and the defense has been allowing people to move up and down the field. So I'm going to take the Lions straight up. I'm going to take the Broncos to cover. But I'm going to take the over of 47.5. I think both these teams can score. There's even a chance that there might be a defensive score in this game. So that one rounds out our Saturday. At least they put the good game in the prime time slot. So I appreciate that. But I got the Lions there. So then moving into the Sunday morning games, Falcons at the Panthers. This is going to not be a great game. Well, actually, I take that back. It might actually be a good game because both teams aren't good. So that being said, I have the Falcons here, and Atlanta is favored by 3. I'm going to take the points, over under of 34. This one, I think I'm going to take the over. And just because both these teams aren't very good, so they should both be able to move the ball fairly well. It's going to be a sloppy game. Another one where defense could put up some points. But yeah, I got the Falcons winning on the road. All right, so we got Bears at Cleveland. Cleveland is a 3-point favorite, over under of 38. Obviously, the Browns still with a backup quarterback, but I like their defense so much more than I like anything about the Bears. Now, again, the Bears have been playing better in recent weeks, but I don't know that translates against really good defenses. We haven't seen that quite yet. So we'll get to find out Sunday morning. But I'm going to take Cleveland here at home. 3 points seems right, so I'm going to take that. Another one with the under, though. I don't think that the Bears are going to move the ball quite as well as they did over the last couple of weeks against this Browns defense. That'll probably be the biggest factor right there. Not that I put a lot of faith in Joe Flacco, but, that's who they have. And if they can create some turnovers, they can win the game. Because although Flacco isn't what he was earlier in his career, he is at least – he protects the ball fairly well. Like, he's good for a pick about every game, but usually just the one. And they do have enough other weapons around. They got a nice running game. Obviously, the defense is stacked. So this is one where I think the Browns can get it. I'll take the field goal. It's probably going to be a fair amount of field goals in this game. And but the under, because it's going to be a fair amount of field goals in this game. All right, Texans at the Titans. So this one is messed up in its own way. So the Titans are 2.5 point favorites, over under 37.5. Now, the thing that's funny about the Titans here is they were the Houston Oilers, right? And then they moved. So they own the rights to all of the Houston Oiler gear, records, all of that, right? So this is going to be their throwback jersey. So they're going to wear all the Oilers gear, right? Tennessee is going to wear all the Houston Oilers gear against the Houston Texans. This feels kind of messed up, right? So, I mean, if you're the Texans, you want this game badly. Unfortunately, it looks like so far they're going to be without CJ Stroud. And so if that's the case, the Texans probably lose this game, even with some added incentive to want to dunk on the Titans. But this one here, the Titans are good enough, especially without CJ Stroud on the other side of the line, that they probably get this win. I'm going to go with they cover the 2.5 because it's probably going to be a field goal even without Stroud. And over under 37.5, I'm going to go under. We haven't seen anything out of the Titans that makes me think they're going to put up a lot of points. And without the Texans starting quarterback, I don't have a lot of faith in them putting up points either. So I'm going to go Titans, the points, and the under there. Excuse me. All right, so then we got KC at the Pats. KC is an 8.5 point favorite and over under of 37. So this one, we just don't know which version of KC is going to step out the gate, right? They really could come out and just obliterate the Pats. even though the Pats do have a decent defense. And, but it could also be the KC team that turned the ball over 4 times against the Broncos. So, I mean, you really don't know what you're getting. The Chiefs feel like they're unraveling a little bit, especially after just losing their minds over an offsides that was clearly an offsides. Now, obviously, there's some ref issues that the league is dealing with in the way that things aren't getting called consistently or the same way. So the fact that Tony gets called offsides, it's the right call. So let's not confuse that part. It was 100% the right call. And the problem is he did it other times during the game, lined up exactly the same. It didn't look like there was any warnings. They didn't throw the flag. So the first time they pull the flag out of their pocket is with, roughly 90 seconds left to go. So I don't love that, right? But then at the same time, they had calls that went for them that didn't go for other teams. Like when you look at Mahomes, he was running out of bounds. He gets hit. He hadn't even made it to the out of bounds marker, right? He was still inside the field of play. They get a roughing the passer for just knocking him out of bounds. Then you look at the Giants game, you had DeVito that was deep in his slide, right? Plays over, and he gets hit. Now, it wasn't helmet to helmet or anything, but still, you're protected once you have a feet first slide, and no flag on that play. So if we're going to complain about it, let's at least just have consistent calls. Like, I don't mind if you're going to pull the flag out, but if you're going to, then call it the same way all day so that we know what the game plan is, right? Like, what's a penalty and what's not. Because if you line up on the ball the way that he was, over the ball, let's say, which again, 100% is a flag, but you call it the same way all day, right? Because had he been flagged for that earlier in the game, well, he would have been half a foot back, right? And that probably isn't an issue anymore. So now, butterfly effect, who knows? Other stuff might have changed because of that 5 yards. So who knows how it would have worked out. But if everything stayed exactly the same, then, it changes the outcome of that game. But what do you do? At the end of the day, it was a flag. The refs actually aren't even really obligated to give you a warning. Like, they can yank a flag anytime they want. Generally, they do, but there's no obligation for them to. And then when you look at that particular play, Tony does walk up and he looks over like he's going to check with him, but he's actually not set on the line yet when he does it. So he's still continuing to move even after he looked over. So, I mean, some of that could be maybe he even said that he was on the line because he never looked back once he got set. Now, when you look at the way he stands, it's a little bit different than the way we were taught. So he lines up with his outside foot, on the line. So he's actually looking in at the ball. And we were always taught to have your inside foot lined up. For whatever reason, it made it easier for you to check. It's not like you can hear the snap anyway, so it was easy for you to it's easy for you to just kind of look over and see when the ball was snapped. But it also made it so that your first launch, if you had a slant, you had that one step slant. You didn't have to do 2 steps, right? So you had that initial step, boom, you were in your break. So it's just something that he does a little bit differently than the way we were taught when I was growing up. But not to say that it's wrong. Obviously, he made it to the NFL, effective receiver, whatever. But that is definitely one of those where that outside foot makes it real obvious that he's offsides. So all that to say this, I think KC bounces back. 8.5 points seems like a lot, but the Pats just really don't move the ball very well. That's another team that they're not convinced they have their quarterback. Zappe, I believe, gets the start yet again. Mac Jones may have taken his last snap of, in a Pats uniform. So So I'm going to go with KC. I'm going to take them to cover, even though I don't love the line. But I'm going to take the over. 37 seems low, especially for a team, like the Chiefs. Even when they're playing poorly, they still put up some points. So I'm going to go KC on the road to cover the 8.5 and the over. And then we got the Giants going into New Orleans. New Orleans is a 6-point favorite, over under of 39. So I don't trust the Giants to be able to keep doing what they've been doing. The Saints defense is good. This team obviously is underperforming based on the roster that they have. This is one where I believe if they don't win their division, their coach gets fired this year, because when you look at the rest of their division, there is no reason the Saints don't have a few game lead on the rest of this division. It's just as poorly as the play has been. But right now they got a 3-way tie for first place, so they still control their own destiny. But if they don't win this division, I would bet the coach is gone. That being said, the Giants are also not a great team. I don't trust DeVito to be able to continue on doing what he did the last 2 weeks. So this is one where I'm going to take the Saints at home, but they don't cover. 6 is way too much, especially for the way the Saints have been playing. But I'll take the over, because the Giants team with DeVito seems to be able to get down the field a little bit better. But you do have Carr in there, and they definitely have weapons with the Saints. So this is one where that score just seems a little too low. Not that it's going to be, a barn burner or anything like that. I don't think it's going to be setting any records as far as points, but I do think that it could be one of those 23, 21, something like that, which is why I don't think these Saints cover the line, but I do take the Saints at home there. The Jets going to the Dolphins. Miami is an 8.5-point favorite, over under of 37. Now, everything that I've seen, Tyreek is still available for this game, dealing with soreness, but I haven't seen him ruled out. So this is one where, even though the Jets defense, again, is an elite unit, I don't see Zach Wilson doing what he did last week. We know what Zach Wilson is. There's plenty of tape. So it's not like he got into last week and then a light bulb turned on and he's just now a good quarterback. I don't think that's really what's going on there. Now, again, the defense for the Dolphins is kind of suspect. So they're probably going to move the ball. They're probably going to get points, and their defense might even score. But this is one where Miami still wins. They don't cover, though. 8.5 is too big of a line, especially because I just don't trust elements of this team. Tyreek is probably not going to be 100% with I believe it was an ankle injury. So even if he's going to play, he's not going to be quite right. So I'm going to go with Miami to win, not to cover, but I'm going to take the over. 37 is probably too low. It seemed odd to have that high of a line and then have the over-under as low as it is. It's like they thought the Jets aren't going to score. Not that they've been scoring a ton of points all season, but I think they're putting a little more faith in that Dolphins defense than they probably should. So Dolphins, not to cover though, and the over. And then we got the Bucks at Green Bay. Green Bay is a 3-point favorite at home, over under of 41.5. This is one where I like both of these lines. Green Bay probably gets this done. It's probably going to be a field goal. 3 points feels right for this game. And then an over under of 41.5. This is one where I'm going to take the under. Again, neither team is playing fantastic, right? Jordan Love obviously has been coming on as the season has gone, but not great. Both defenses play fairly well. Both offenses come up short in moments. You can never rule out Baker just because you never know which Baker's stepping on the field. And Jordan Love kind of feels the same way. Is he can have a day or he can have a day. And you really don't know which one it's going to be. There's a little bit of inconsistency in both these quarterbacks. So this is one that could go either way. They gave Green Bay the 3-point favorite because they're at home. That's your 3 points is your standard home field advantage. So that's really an indication from Vegas that, they don't trust they don't trust either team really. I mean, again, you get 3 points for being the home team, and both these teams actually play kind of similarly in the way that inconsistent quarterback play, fairly good defense, and they have some playmakers, but nothing amazing, right? So should be a fun game to watch, but I'm going to take Green Bay at home. So then we move into the afternoon games. San Fran at the Cards. San Fran is a 12.5-point favorite, over under of 48. So this is one where I feel like this line is about right. The Niners are playing amazingly well, probably as they're healthy, the best team in the league. And this is one where I think the Cards just get boat raced. And 12.5, I probably would have taken it if it was a total 14. Last week the Niners beat the Seahawks by 12. And the Seahawks are a better team than the Cards. Even during the 4-game slide that they're on, they played the Niners tough. They played the Cowboys tough. They played the Niners tough the second time. They got smacked in the face the first time. But so this is one where I think the Cards, they're just outmatched in this one. So I'm going to go the Niners. I'm going to take the points even at 12.5, but the over. The Cards are still going to put up some points, and the Niners are going to hang probably 28 on them. So I think they can. It might even be more. It might be over 30. It could be 35. Could see that out of the Niners here. And the Cards will get in the end zone a couple of times. So I'm going to take the over, but I think it'll be barely the over. All right, so now we have Washington at the Rams. I got the Rams winning this game. The line seemed crazy for the Rams. They are a 6.5-point favorite, and that is a little bit of a surprise to me. Don't get me wrong; they're playing very well. They are currently tied for the last, record-wise, they're tied for the last spot in the playoffs. They're sitting at the 8th seed, so they're just on the outside looking in, and they probably get this win here. They don't cover, though. 6.5 seems like a large line, even against this Washington team that seems like they're kind of above their skis at this point. Lots of turmoil within that organization. A bunch of assistant coaches have been let go. Ron Rivera is now going to be calling the defense. They let go a couple of their best defensive players at the trade deadline. So there's a lot moving within this organization. And of course, you also have the fact that for all intents and purposes, it looks like Ron Rivera is coaching the last few games of his tenure there in Washington. So it just seems like there's a lot of distraction there. The Rams get this win, but I still don't think they cover, just because, they're not a great team. They don't have great depth, I should say. They actually have they're playing very well with what they have. We'll put it that way. So I'm going to go the Rams at home, not to cover, and the under 50 points. I don't trust Washington to put that many points up. So I'm going to take the under here. Not a lot about Washington that I like at this point in the season. So Rams not to cover and the under. The Sunday, let's see, we got Cowboys at the Bills. Bills are favored by 2 here. Over under of 50.5. This is going to be a fun game to watch because the Bills, when they're playing smart football, can hang with anybody. I had them as their division winner. So, before the season started. This is one where the play from the Bills has been all over the place. They've been able to come out and dominate some games. They've come out and fallen flat. Last week they played a really tough game against KC. They come out on top. So, they've kind of been all over the place. The Cowboys could really use this game if they want to win their division. But this is one where I'm taking the Cowboys. I don't love taking the Cowboys here, though. And some of that is because historically that I've said many times, they just don't play great in December. And they haven't played great in December in over 20 years. So there's some history there that makes my pick a little bit biased. Now, if you're just looking at this season as it stands, they're playing fantastic football right now. So I'm taking them. I'm ignoring the history of December football. So I will take them on the road as the underdog, but I'm going to take the over. Both these teams are going to put up points. And 50.5 for these two teams, I feel like they could easily cruise by that. So definitely not going to be the defensive struggle that it could be. But I mean, both those teams do have decent defenses, but I don't think that's going to be the case this time through. All right, we got the Sunday night game, Ravens at the Jags. Baltimore is a 3.5-point favorite, over under of 42.5. I like the Ravens here. Again, the Jags don't love their defense. I don't. Not a huge fan of the defense for the Jags, but the Ravens, they have some of their own issues as well. But I'm going to take Baltimore. I'm going to take the points, the 3.5. I would have liked it if it was 3 better, because it could very well be a field goal, but I'm still going to take the points there. And then the over-under of 42.5, I'm going to take the under. This one I feel like is probably going to be a little bit more of a defensive struggle than it should be. Again, Ravens have a good defense. Don't love the Jags, but the Jags have a dynamic offense, enough of a dynamic offense to be able to score. So this is one where I'm going to take the Ravens on the road, but still the under. Yeah. And then Monday Night Football. We get our first Monday Night Football that was flexed into the spot. We got the Eagles at the Seahawks. Seahawks coming off of 4-game skid here. They are in desperate need of this win if they want to get into the playoffs. Some of that scenario is because of the games that they've lost. I have them as a 10-7 team coming into the season. I feel like they are going to have that record to be able to get in. And some of that is because of the games that they lost during the season. So when they lost both of them to the Rams, both of them to the Niners, it doesn't give them a favorable conference record either. So there are tiebreakers that really just don't go in Seattle's favor. So they're going to actually have to be a game ahead of the next spot. 10-7 may get them there, but to be able to hit that, they have to win all 4 of their next games. And that's a tall order in the NFL to go on a run like that, especially with the way that Seattle has been losing games. And why I say it that way is Seattle has lost games on a lot of self-inflicted types of things. Now that first loss against the Niners, they got beat. There's no question. But the other games they were in, they had opportunities, but they got penalties at inopportune times. They get, DK getting booted from a game, which isn't helpful when you're trying to mount a comeback on a team that has an absolutely stacked roster. There's been a lot of other penalties, or the most penalized team in the league. So there's just a lot of self-inflicted wounds that are hurting this team as far as being able to get in. Now, the Eagles, on the other hand, also haven't been playing amazing football, and they haven't played amazing football all season. They've found ways to win, but they haven't played great football. So when you are, especially over the last 2 weeks, right? They dropped 2 games in a row. There's opportunity here for the Seahawks to pull this out. Obviously, how people view the Seahawks moving forward, if they can pull this off, obviously changes a little bit. If the Seahawks do pull it off and somehow goes 10-7 and still miss, they're going to look back at, the Cowboys game, missed opportunities, that second Rams game for sure, the Bengals game. Like, those ones could loom large on why they didn't end up in the playoffs if they do end up missing. But that all starts with the old cliche. They have to go 1-0 on Monday night because, if they drop this game, it's essentially a wrap because there's too many other teams that have the same record that own the tiebreaker over Seattle because of either head-to-head matchups or conference record issues. So this is one where Seattle has to go on a 4-0 run. Otherwise, they're going to be on the outside looking in. But I'm going to take the Eagles here. I may be a Seahawks fan, but, as an analyst, I got to go with what actually makes sense, especially if I am advising betting strategies. I got to go with what actually is going to make you guys money. And here it's going to be the Eagles, even though, again, they haven't played great and the Seahawks have an absolute opportunity to do this. I'm going to still take the Eagles. Now, when it comes to the points, I'm going to take the under of 47.5. The 4-point spread. Man, that one's tough. I've kind of gone back and forth because if it was a field goal, I'd take the points because this is kind of that feeling of a game. But 4 points is really a question mark. I'm gonna take the points anyway here, and some of that is the Eagles haven't beat the Seahawks in 15 years, right? And this is one of those, I think they're going to be able to come out and get this game from them. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. The Eagles do actually provide a little bit of a mismatch based on what it is they do and what the Seahawks don't do well. They run the ball particularly well. Seattle's defense doesn't stop the run great. They do utilize the flat, which has been a weak spot over the last few weeks for Seattle. Obviously, they're going to use those seam routes, crossing routes that have burned Seattle over the last 2 seasons. So this is a very smart team. It's a well-coached team. And even though they're not playing as well as their roster says they should, this is one where I think they can come in and get it done. But I, as a Seahawk fan, I don't love it, but that's kind of the way it looks on paper moving into Monday night. Again, kudos to the NFL for moving a good game into Monday night. I appreciate that they're not sticking with, bad teams for Monday Night Football. Give us good primetime games. If you guys could maybe do the same thing for Thursday nights, that would be awesome. I know they changed the rule going into this season where they could flex somebody into Thursday. They didn't actually utilize it, but they had to give teams a 28-day heads up that they were going to switch the programming for it. And, based on a lot of the games for Thursday night, they really should have done that a few times this season. But alas, here we are. We got the very first flexed in Monday night game. Should be an absolute battle between the Eagles and the Seahawks. All right. So other than that, again, if you are wanting to bet along with us or play the rest of the season in Pick'em, go to footballtalkbo.com and just go to the Bet With Us tab, and you can click on and join our Pick'em poll, which is on the CBS Sports app. And of course, you can bet alongside us with BetUS. There's a link there so you can join with us, get some free bets, and enjoy Thursday Night Football. Again, if you are around in Bellevue this week, tonight, I should say, we're going to go to the Legion Sports Bar. Again, that was one that Cam Chancellor, Richard Sherman, Leilani Wong have put together, opened in October. This will be our first trip walking through it. So come out, watch the game, and have a beer with us. Other than that, we'll let you get back to your Thursday and hope to see you guys tonight. If you're watching here on Roku, be sure to hang out and check out the other programming coming up next. Take it easy, guys.